Hello guys and girls, Visitor Thrill here. And warning before I start this video. First of all, I want to turn around my camera angle so you see me better. Um, Warning before we start this video. This video is going to talk about sensitive subjects, and I want to get out of the way that if you are sensitive about things, they're just right there. But maybe especially for you to watch this, because different points of view. Now here's the thing. I personally am of the opinion that sensitive subjects should be talked about. They shouldn't be talked about in a jokingly manner, mind you. I don't find that memes that depict it in a bad light unless they're really sarcastic with it, so that you can clearly see it. Then I kinda am fine with it because it's so extreme, but I don't like when people just play off things like a joke. It's just frustrating. But I am currently in the act of watching an anime named Gangsta, and it's amazing. Now I'm going to say straight off the bat that the first episode, and if you want to go into this anime fully blind, you want to pause this video now, watch the first episode, and then come back. So I'm giving you like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pinky swear. There we go. If you got that reference, please put it in the comments. But yeah, the first episode, it tackles a bit of prostitution and domestic abuse and all this stuff. I just looked at it's because my brothers are moving about and I don't want them to destroy my recording because I don't want to have to edit this thing. But they cover these subjects, murder, they cover all these very sensitive subjects. Okay, from the get-go, and they don't shy away from it. But neither do they tackle them tastelessly. They fully indulge the fact that this is bad. This is really bad, and it becomes a major plot point later about this domestic abuse and how hard it is to get out of it, even after it's over. But I won't get into that. I'm not finished with the show yet, but I wanted to tackle this bit that sensitive subjects in our age, sometimes I feel like we don't talk about them. And some people are of the opinion that they shouldn't even be touched, which to me is just strange. How can we solve a problem if we don't touch it? Let's go straight to one of the biggest. The concentration camps, the extermination. I can't believe that there's people who want to say, like, just not touch it. Because then you encounter a problem of people who basically say, no, the exterminations didn't even happen. That's even worse. But to me, I see that as a consequence by the fact that some people decided to think, okay, hey, let's just, talk it like it never happened. That just fuels it. It becomes surreal. It becomes something that we can't touch. And that is a shame, because then we lose our history. And I mean, what does that lead to? Hey, let's take an example. You know who in history, rioted people with hate speeches, rose to power through propaganda, talked himself into, like, the normal person. You know who did that? Hitler. But also someone else more recently, Donald Trump. Now, I am not going to say either on any side of this argument. I mainly like Trump is, I don't really like him, but he can't really do much. He can't harm that much, not as much as people seem to sometimes think. He can say a lot, and many people will hear him, but as long as we all like, yeah, look at this fact and just keep track of when he's trying to actually make a move. That's what I'm after. when he's just blabbling, that's just executing right of speech. Uh, Even though hate speech is technically illegal, I think it's America. American viewers, please tell me in the comments if he's allowed to talk hate speech, because really, it shouldn't matter if you're the president or the junkie on the street. Either way, you should have the same basic human rights and the same basic obligations. But moving on towards touchy subjects again, I feel like we kind of forgot. We didn't think about the fact that Hitler was real. It's something we sometimes talk about extensively when we learn about it in school, but did we learn it? Did we learn anything about it? Did we actually learn? Well, it doesn't seem like that. It happened again. In my opinion, we need to be able to discuss touchy subjects. You need to be able to critique things, not in a parody or, at least in the Swedish form of the word, where it's a joke on things. You need to be able to touch a subject and discuss it without being afraid of the consequences. You shouldn't have to be afraid that a bunch of people will say, "No, you can't talk of this, it's too sensitive." That just destroys things. If we can't discuss the touchy subjects, we lose so much. We can't discuss the fact that people live in poverty. I mean, it's something we talk about a lot, I guess. A lot of the time you hear, oh, save poverty and all that, but how often do we actually discuss it on length? We can hear about, oh, Nazi things are happening, but do we ever discuss it on length? Here's one thing. The other day I talked with someone about a riot that was happening. We were discussing the freedom of speech, and that people have protests about things that we usually see as good. For example, people rioting against, say, use. Let's just put that out there. People rioting, not rioting, protesting. Protesting is the right word. If people have a protest about use, and let's bring this full circle later. Just hang with me. If someone have a parade against hatred towards gay people, so a gay pride parade, pretty much. It's a bit more than that, but a parade, a protest against laws that go against rights for people with different sexual orientation. If they are allowed to have that protest, then people with an opinion that is the opposite should also have the right to a protest. That doesn't change. I will not say that I agree with them, but I do allow them their rights. That's what I'm after. I do not want to treat people differently on the basic level. Everyone should be allowed to speak freely and feel free about speaking. If they spew hatred towards a person, that's a different question, because then they are harassing someone. But if they are just discussing, like, oh, my view on it is like this, and biologically you can see these and these differences, and someone can reply to them, oh, I can see what you're talking about, but the test group of that was 10 people specifically selected, and you can have that dialogue where you're both civilized, talking with each other about the touchy subject, then you're getting somewhere. Then you're actually moving. Then you can actually debate in a good sense. And let me see. I don't have track of how long I've talked, but I wanted to get this out there. I wanted to say this, and it just kind of came to me as I was watching Gangsta, which I highly recommend if you're, feeling a bit like these subjects shouldn't be touched. Just watch it. If you are sensitive about it because you have been in, say, abusive relationship and you feel like you aren't ready to face that again, then don't watch it yet. But once you feel ready to, give yourself a challenge, try to touch it, then watch it. I am not a psychologist, but I think it might help. And once this anime is, when I've watched this whole thing, I might, make a review or something on it and talk about this again in more depth. Maybe make a script even to try to discuss it more properly. But for now, that'd been all. So thank you all guys and girls for watching. I hope you enjoyed and listened through. If you have listened this whole thing, put in the comments Banana Cat. And until next time, stay happy and see ya.